Rob Grimes with the IFPTA, and today I'm really pleased to be joined by Luke Fryer, the CEO and founder of Harri. They are a global industry supplier member, and welcome, Luke.
Rob, it's a pleasure to be here.
Is the Harri product set scalable from the small to medium business up to the large enterprise? I mean, there have to be different challenges, and there have to be different challenges between franchisors, brands, and franchisees.
I think there's two aspects there, right? The difference between, within a franchise system and with, outside a franchise system. Certainly we're relevant to both. I'd say we become more valuable once you're a multi-unit operator. When you're sort of in that 4 or 5 units and above, there's a way that you want to present the key workflows around people and the things bringing things to the attention of multi-unit managers and owners. It needs to be handled in a different way than if you...
Under that, there are a lot of family members involved.
Yes.
Hopefully you have control on the family members and loyalty.
And I think in the franchise context, the beauty of the franchise world is that, within a system, there's often, there's a lot of operational consistency within a franchise system. I've been involved in quite a few myself. And, you have an opportunity to really kind of customize, how you hire people, how you manage scheduling and how you manage communication. And then there's a lot of fragmentation in how franchise systems handle technology because of joint employer laws. Franchisors have tended to stay far away from, really leaning into the development of employee technology. Those laws are changing. The whole backdrop is changing, and the whole backdrop of the franchisor-franchisee relationship vis-a-vis employees is changing rapidly. And the best franchisors are starting to realize that they need to have a very proactive approach to all things to do with the employee, because it's such a key part of the health of their underlying business model. Because if franchisees aren't compliant, or if
I think that franchisees, they used to buck the system on a lot of this, but it seems now they want the help to be more successful. And a lot of franchisees, people are making investments and they want to get something for the fee that they may pay to be a franchisee. So the employee area, retention, training, scheduling, are certainly anything in the HR areas are certainly, part of that toolkit. You mentioned before the word strategy. And I am certain that with all the brands that you serve and with your background, that people are coming to you in partnership to work together to help in their strategy using tools that you may provide, but you also get to see a lot of the trends and tactics that people are using in the industry. And I thought maybe because you get to see so many, and a lot of times people are in their own little silos, maybe you might share where you sort of see the key trends or tactics that operators are using, in the labor, area, in the operations area, because you see so much of it around the world and with your customer base.
In the last, really from the beginning of this year, we have started to see a very proactive move from some of the biggest players in the market to just a very, very clear retention strategy. Right, like to the point where you have people who are, chief employee experience officers. You've started to see titles and actually dedicated
Titles are changing
to the concept of employee experience with one outcome, which is to improve retention. So if you double click on that, I'd say the 3 key things we're seeing within that tactical tool belt, if you will. One is visualizing the path of growth for an employee. A clearly definable path of growth that includes, there are behavioral aspects, are you coming to work on time? Are you doing what's expected of you? There are developmental aspects. Are you completing training? And there are performance aspects like, if, this is your role, here's a key performance indicator. It could be anything from a drive-through time to revenue collected or whatever the KPI might be that's relevant to a role. Visualizing all of that for the employee so they understand what's expected of them and what those very achievable steps are. And achievable in the context of an entry-level employee means achievable in days and weeks, not something I'm working for the next 6 months. You want to have these goals as very measurable and achievable, obviously. The second, the second key part of this is from the second key part of the retention strategy is helping reward and recognize in the flow of work. Right. So it depends on your business. What equals good behavior or good outcomes? How do you allow recognition for that in a way that the manager can be aware of, but doesn't rely on the manager having to, crank out Excel spreadsheets or fill in paper, whatever it might be? How do you have a system that detects good performance and recognizes and rewards the employee? That could be, hey, you've come to work on time every shift for the last month. Here's $100. Or you've hit this performance criteria, or you've topped the league table in terms of tip percentages. We're going to identify that positive performance. We're going to allow for that to be rewarded, and then we're going to recognize them, across their peer group. Those kind of things. If you don't have technology doing it, that can be you can burn a lot of calories from an operational perspective trying to do those things. But there's a way to really build that into the flow of work. Really great outcomes there.
So you would sit there and you would say that in the Harri product base that you have the technology and you have the tools and data to pull that kind of information together. But somehow you have to deliver it to the operator, because you said early on that, they manage their businesses. They can't stay on top of all these things. So how do you proactively perhaps point out things to them that they should see in their employees to make a difference?
So I think there's a great opportunity for technology to provide this concept of actionable insights, right? So there's a huge amount of data. We tap into POS systems to help our customers.
So by the way, I thought you were going to say AI actionable insights. I got it.
No, actually, so AI is really just a great big ball of fluff at the moment. Everyone's grabbing onto it, but
we're going to define it differently. Actionable insights. Got it.
Well, no, there's artificial intelligence that produces actionable insights that are actually impactful. So there's 3 different AIs there in a row. But
okay, now I got to remember all this.
No, but
I got it.
At the end of the day, what can assist? So, and we're on this journey. We're not there yet. Right. But when you bring all the customer transactions for a business, which we do initially to help produce great schedules, because you got to know what the flow of transactions are going to be in order to deliver a great schedule. But when you bring all that POS data in, and then you have all the data from the employees, how they're performing, how they're behaving, how they're, what they feel, because you're going to ask them what they feel. And when you start to bring in some other data points, for example, what customers are saying out of it, when you bring that all into one place, you actually have a pretty powerful, you have an incredible opportunity to start looking at the health of a business, the health of a restaurant business, quite specifically. And from that, you can start to say, hey, manager, or hey, above store manager, or hey, executive, you should be looking at this. And the correlations can be very powerful. If you start really detecting employee sentiment and start to understand how our employees feel day to day, week to week, happy or not happy, what are they happy or not happy about, and you start correlating that to turnover, as in employee turnover, and you start correlating that to customer satisfaction scores, and then correlating that to sales and EBITDA performance, you start to get a very profound view of what's actually going on in the business. And in fact, you start to see things like employee satisfaction scores and behavioral scores like time and attendance. They start to become a leading indicator of just core financial performance, right? And this is what an actionable insight that is actually impactful begins to look like.
So in reality, the key is to be able to collect all those data points. The challenge for you as a company in your future development is to, and I'll take it that the fluff is out there now. However, over time, you would hope that these things would become predictive, where it's not necessarily giving you the insight to take action, but giving you the information, actually suggesting the action that should be taken. And that probably is the next step.
I don't know. I actually don't know if it's the action that needs to be taken. I think there is so many talented operators. I think the first step is, hey, you need to look at this. If we take, for example, employee retention, again, we think of ourselves as a system of retention, ultimately, profound impacts that can improve the industry if we help to get that right. It's probably not our job to go and say, hey, you should talk to this employee and do this. What we should be doing is saying, hey, this employee is either saying or doing things that indicate they might be looking to leave. Take a look at this. Go and talk to them, right? And let's look for patterns within a shift. Could be related to the person leading a particular shift. It could be patterns within a location. It could be tied to a location manager, right? And the first step is to start to look at these trends and draw attention to things that need to be looked at, rather than, there are a lot of soft skills that need to be deployed in the
but there's a new way to do it. But I even think back, and fortunately, I've been around for a while. And I think back to the early days of time and attendance systems, where it would say, based upon the time and attendance, we'll tell you who should go home early because the sales are not where they're supposed to be, or you need to bring somebody in. But these were all rules-based systems that required the operator to come up with the rule that says, if this, then that, and then the system looks at the rules. So in reality, if I look back to the future here, some of these types of suggestions were old concepts that people had in the rules.
So I was speaking to the softer and harder concept of employee retention. Now, if we switch the conversation to the optimal deployment of labor, which is a deliciously boring but very, very sexy concept in terms of financial outcomes and customer experience, that's different. That's, to your point, that's exactly where a system should be suggesting. So it's, listen, you're trending up, you're trending down. You need to reposition this way. You are short-staffed here. Draw your attention. You need to fill that. You are over or under on productivity, right? You are seeing this is everything from suggesting the right people to be in the simple concept, the right people, the right place, the right time, in the right quantity to maximize throughput, right? That absolutely is it. That is how you optimize the deployment of labor. And a system like ours is absolutely making those suggestions, or even automating those placements, right? Increasingly automating those placements, right? In the flow of schedule creation, in the flow of post-publish schedule management, right? In the flow of a shift, this concept of dynamic shift replanning in the course of a day, right? They're all things that a modern workforce, these are table stakes for a modern workforce management solution.
Well, you've made a lot of headway, since 2016. And I know there's a lot of room to grow, but you actually are exploring different areas that a lot of people haven't touched with a different approach. And the IFBTA is very happy and lucky to have you as one of our key global industry partners. And it's been a pleasure, Luke Fryer, the CEO and founder of Harri, to have you join us today. And welcome to the IFBTA.
Thanks, Rob. It's a pleasure to be part of it.